Hey gamers, Nature here. Today we have a special one for you. We're going to cover the full level 25 hunter guide for WoW Season of Discovery. We'll touch base on your runes, gear, talents, rotation, pet, raid consumes, even some extra tips and tricks. Make sure as always give a like and subscribe. Cannot tell you how much that helps. Let's dive right into it. Now, if you're brand new to WoW Classic and this is your first time getting into it in Season of Discovery, you may not know this, but different races have different racial abilities. The first thing we want to do is not fail on the select screen before we even play the game. Tauren Hunters have a built-in 5-yard AoE stun ability. It does have a 0.5 second cast, however this can be great in PvP and in PvE during large trash pools that allow stuns. Also, side note, not on the tooltip, but Tauren Hunters have the largest melee range of any race in WoW Classic. What that means is if somebody comes into your dead zone as a hunter, you can typically get off the first melee hit before them, or in PvE, you can use this to make your melee weave window smaller. Tauren Hunters also have a little bit more health. They have +5 to herbalism and a little bit more resistance to nature damage. Next, we'll touch base on Orc Hunter. Now, Orc Hunters are thought of to be one of the best, if not the best, PvP racials for Hunter in the entire game. The reason for that, they have a 15% chance to resist stun effects. This is absolutely massive. If you resist a stun effect and you can keep somebody from getting into your dead zone, a lot of times that's just a W and you would win that fight or encounter. They also have 5% increased damage to their pets, +5 to axes. Now, this will not help in PvP. However, this would help in PvE while leveling or while melee weaving. And then they also have the ability to enrage. This doesn't help your ranged attacks. However, it does help your melee attacks. So in PvP, if somebody does get stuck into your dead zone, you can enrage. You'll receive less healing, but you'll be able to do a little bit more damage. Lastly, for the Horde, we'll touch base on Troll Hunter. Troll Hunter is thought of between Alliance and Horde to be the best PvE hunter racial that you can get. The reason for that, you have Berserking. This provides a 10 to 30% haste buff for 10 seconds. The haste increases if you use it as your health decreases. They also have regeneration increased for your mana and health pool while you're either leveling or in PvE content to get additional mana during boss encounters. They have damage increase versus beast for those encounters. And then they also have innate built-in +5 to bow weapon skill. Now that equates to about 3% hit at level 60, which can definitely be viable until you get to Bis gear. On the Alliance side, we have Dwarf Hunter. Dwarf Hunter has Stone Form. This can be useful against rogues, poison, in PvP. It could also be used in PvE on nature encounters sometimes to avoid mechanics to continue to pump. They have a +5 skill increase with guns. They're resistant to frost, and they have treasure finding, which could be a little bit fun when you're leveling. Lastly, for the Alliance, we have the Night Elf Hunter. Now, a lot of individuals that are new to the game make the mistake of reading the tooltip for a Night Elf Hunter and thinking this is a PvP only race. That's absolutely false. So to give you the correct information, a Night Elf Hunter has 9 more agility as their base stat than a Dwarf Hunter at level 60. They also have 3 more agility than a Troll Hunter, so they have the highest base agility stat of any hunter race in the game. They also, for PvP, they can use Shadow Meld, where they can fade into the shadows and go invisible, and they wouldn't appear again until they start to cast or they move. This could also be useful if you're soloing dungeon content at level 60 as well. They have a dodge chance increase, which is great for PvP. Wisp Form, which unfortunately you've died, but in world PvP, this is actually an advantage as well. And then they are resistant to nature damage. This is just a small extra amount of resistance, and it's useful against classes like shamans, which are on the Horde side. Excellent. Once we actually zone into the game, we're going to keep an eye out for runes. Runes are brand new to WoW Classic and are basically extra abilities or buffs that can be found in open world just by simply looting them or doing different objectives. There's a full guide on Wowhead. I'll link that into the description. The first rune slot to cover is the chest slot. We have Cobra Strikes. Your critical hits with shot abilities cause your pet's next 2 special attacks to critically hit. Lone Wolf, you deal 15% increased damage with all attacks, so while you do not have an active pet. And then the two you really want to look out for first is Heart of the Lion. The hunter takes on Heart of the Lion, increases total stats by 10% for all nearby allies, and then in addition, the hunter gets an extra 10%, making 20% total. This is thought to be the best in slot or best rune to use if nobody else in the raid is running King's Buff or Heart of the Lion themselves. Next, we want to pick up Master Marksman. This increases your critical strike chance by 5% and reduces the mana cost of all your shots and ability by an additional 25%. If somebody else is already running Heart of the Lion or King's Buff, this is actually the best in slot or best rune to have right now because it does the most amount of damage. Next, we have the Hands rune. We have Carve, a sweeping attack that strikes all enemies in front of you for 50% weapon damage. Beast Mastery, your pet's damage and health are increased by 30% and focus regen by 80%. In addition, your pet Growl is also a taunt for 3 seconds. This is great in PvE when you're starting off and have lower gear, and is also amazing for leveling. We have Explosive Shot. You fire an explosive charge into the enemy, dealing 3 charges total of fire damage. The fire damage is also AoE, so this will affect multiple targets. This is actually your best in slot rune if you're fighting mobs or trash with 3 or more targets. Chimera Shot. This does 85% weapon damage and refreshes the current sting on your target. In addition, triggers an effect. At level 25, we only have access to Serpent Sting. The effect here is just 32 damage, but again, this refreshes that Serpent Sting, which is also doing damage as well. A side note here, Chimera Shot currently costs 12% of our mana pool. Explosive Shot costs 7% of our mana pool. These two abilities are on a 6-second CD. Lastly, we have the Leg rune slot. We have Serpent Spread. Targets hit by your multi-shot are also afflicted by your Serpent Sting for 6 seconds. We have Kill Command, increasing your pet's damage done from special attacks by 60% for 30 seconds. Each special attack done reduces the damage bonus by 20%. So this will work as 60%, then 40%, then 20%. Just a fair warning here, these first 2 runes right now are unviable. Kill Command was basically nerfed into the ground when magic pets were nerfed as well. Right now, this is only going to net you about 1 DPS. We don't want to worry about these 2 at this time. The 2 we want to look out for while leveling, first is Sniper Training. This provides 10% crit while you have not moved for 6 seconds. So as long as you stand still for 6 seconds and remain standing still, you gain 10% crit. We have Flanking Strike. You and your pet deal simultaneous instant 100% melee damage. Afterward, your Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike deal 10% increased damage, and then that can stack up to 3 times. In addition, your Raptor Strike has the potential chance of 20% to reset Flanking Strike. When it comes to professions while we're leveling, we'll want to pick up Mining and Engineering. The Mining is simply to level the Engineering while we're getting up to 25. However, once we hit 25, we'll drop Mining and we'll actually pick up Leatherworking. If you need to here, you can stay mining a little bit to farm materials to save up a couple gold, but leveling Leatherworking is going to be fairly cheap to do. And the reason we'll want to get Leatherworking is so we can get the epic craftable gloves later. And Engineering is going to be crucial in raid as your best in slot because it'll give us access to 3 things: the Miner Recombobulator, Target Dummies, and then Heavy Dynamite. Excellent. Now that we've picked up all the runes we have and we've leveled to 25, we need to go out and get our pre-raid Vis. Now, the first thing we'll want to do as a hunter is get Humbert's Helm. This is farmed off the elites in the southeast corner of Hillsbrad Foothills. This can only be attained by the Horde. If you're Alliance, don't worry, you can actually purchase this on the neutral auction house. Next up, we'll want to get Scout's Medallion. This can be purchased from the vendor by getting honored in Warsong Gulch. You can get this on Alliance and Horde. For shoulders, your best in slot item is Mantle of Thieves. You can actually solo farm RFK and get this yourself. It is a rare drop. For those not looking to do as much effort, a leather worker can craft dark leather shoulders. You can pick this up for very cheap on the auction house. I checked today, it was 90 silver on the Horde. Now, if you're trying to get a little bit more, you can also pick up Dervish Spalders. This is a random enchant, but it's a BOE drop. You can get this on the auction house. If it rolls agility, it can roll either 7 or 8 agility. So just one more than what the dark leather ones can roll. On the back, we'll want to pick up Cape of the Brotherhood for PvP or Glowing Lizard Scale Cloak for PvE. Now, the Glowing Lizard Scale Cloak can be soloed as well in Wailing Caverns. For the chest slot, when it comes to Horde, we want to pick up the Panther Armor. On Alliance side, we're going to want to pick up Tunic of Westfall. This is obtained by completing the Defias Brotherhood questline. The final part of that questline has you going to the Dead Mines to kill the final boss in there called Van Cleef. Next up, we have the Jurassic Wrist Guards. This is technically your best in slot item, and you can pick this up by killing a rare elite raptor in the northeast section of the wetlands. However, because the extra strength of 2 is the only reason separating this from the other items, you can actually just pick up any BOE wrist guards that has 5 agility. You can pick these up on the auction house. When it comes to your gloves, this is actually a great item that we can get fairly easily. There's a lot of people rolling leatherworking, and we'll touch base on that in a second. You can pick this up for usually under 2 gold, maybe even less. Now, when it comes to the belt, on Alliance side, we have a quest line called High Perch Venom. This is in Duskwallow Marsh. We can pick up and get this belt fairly easily, as well as leatherworkers can craft the Deviate Scale Belt, which is great as well for PvP because of the additional stamina and spirit. Either one of these would be perfectly fine for your pre-raid setup. Technically, Windboard Belt is BIS. Flipping back over to the Horde, we'll want to pick up Deathkin Belt. There's 2 things you need to know in order to get this belt. The first thing is you need to pick up Befouled Elementals quest in Splinter Tree Post. This sends you to the southern middle part of Ashenville to kill water elementals for bracers. While you're doing that quest, there's a named mob there that's on a 15-minute timer called Tidris. When you killed that named mob Tidris, it drops a Befouled Water Globe. This item says if you click it, you can start a quest. That's the quest called Janu of the Earthen Ring. Once you turn that in, you'll get a second quest to then go to Splinter Tree Post and turn it in as well. That's when you'll get the Deathkin Belt. It's fairly easy, but you need to know that you have to have Befouled Elementals before you can start that part of the quest. Next, when it comes to your leg slot, we only have the access here to get Troll Bane Leggings. This does 14 agility and 4 spirit. It's a BOE random world drop, and it is very rare as well. So your next best item to get pre-raid would be Leggings of the Fang. This is really good for weaving because of the 5 strength, but it also does 9 agility. Next, we're going to pick up on the Horde side, Warsong Boots. This is obtained by completing the Warsong Supplies quest in Ashenvale. On the Alliance side, however, since we don't have access to that, we'll want to pick up Feet of the Lynx. Fair warning here, even if you're Horde, if you're a melee weaver, this is still going to be your best in slot. This can be picked up on the auction house on the Horde side for around 9 gold. I'd assume it'd be a little bit more on the Alliance since that's their only option. Now, when it comes to ring, we'll actually want to first get honored with Warsong Gulch, because remember we did that with our neck, and pick up Legionnaire Band. We can also obtain Monkey Ring by going through RFK. And then we have Ring of Precision as a random world drop. We could pick this up on the auction house. There's also a ring called Savannah Ring. This is what I looked out for, and I was able to get this really cheap. A lot of people don't know about this. So Savannah Ring is basically like the Dervish Shoulders we touched base with earlier. This can roll up to 6 agi, and it can be equivalent to the Monkey Ring. Now, side note here, when it comes to your chest, you can also look for the Dervish Tunic. This can roll up to 11 agility. So these are 2 items a lot of people don't know about, but these are what you'd want to look for on the auction house. Now, on the trinket slot, there's not really a lot to talk about here pre-raid. We want to roll engineering as a hunter, and I'll touch base on that in a second, but Minor Recombobulator would be great. It's just a miniature mana pot that we can use. We can pick up Rune of Duty. This is just going to add a little bit of survivability because remember, we've already gotten honored with Warsong Gulch and we can obtain this at friendly. When it comes to weapons here, Armor Piercer pre-raid is going to be king. Now, I get a lot of questions about the one-handers, and let me touch base on that. So the combination, or any combination of one-handers you can get raid or pre-raid, is not going to equal 11 agility. Because of the King's buff that you innately get, agility has a multiplier of 2.72. So basically, if we take 11 agility, multiply it by 2.72, that's what it would be equivalent to with attack power, and that's better than any combination of the one-hands. With that being said, you do have the 2% hit sharpening stone that can be used in BFD. So if you are not getting a Wind Fury buff and planning on doing any type of melee attacks, you can then put the sharpening stone on and the one-handers would become best in slot. What we would pick up here as far as the one-handers go is Outlaw Saber. Now, this is a quest for Horde only. If we can't obtain that, we can get Scout's Blade. This is obtained through getting revered with Warsong Gulch. And then we could pick up any combination of the other items. Now, Prison Shank and Talon Vultures, guys, these are kind of your bait. You can't really get those. They're rare mobs. They're hard to get. If you see it on the auction house, you might be able to get it as a BOE, but you really want to go for basically on the Alliance side, Scout's Blade, Wing Blade, or Cruel Barbed. And again, you just use Sharpening Stone on both of these if you're doing ranged only. Now, when it comes to your pre-raid bis for your weapons, Steel Arrow Crossbow is absolutely your pre-raid. The reason why is once you obtain Steel Arrow Crossbow and you have most, if not all, your pre-bis, you'll be able to go and spec over into Marksman. This item is going to make those aim shots hit like crazy and is going to be great to get before you go into raid. Side note, it's a BOE. You can pick this up on the auction house as well. Now that we've farmed our full pre-raid bis and we're going into BFD, here's the items we're going to look out for. This is your bis for the face. We'll have Twilight Slayer's Cowl. This is an absolutely huge item because it's part of the set. The set on 2-piece does 12 additional attack power. The 3-piece adds a chance to hit. Now, the Artemis Cowl technically is better just in this, but you'll want to prioritize getting the Twilight Cowl if you can. Scout's Medallion. Remember, we farmed this already by getting honored with Warsong as part of our pre-raid setup. This is still going to be our bis for the phase. There is an Alliance equivalent, of course. Now, when it comes to the shoulders, we'll still want to keep the Mantle of Thieves if we were able to obtain that. If we were not, we'll want to look out for Sentinel Pauldrons. Now, this has the same agility as the Dervish shoulders that I covered. However, this adds 10 stamina, so this is going to be your best in slot for PvP because of the stamina. When it comes to cloaks, we'll want to look out for the Waterproof Scarf in BFD just because it has 4 more spirit. Bracers, nothing's changed here at all from our pre-raid setup. With the gloves, we'll actually take our toughened leather gloves that we got pre-raid, and there's a quest line. I'll put the full guide in the description, but once we complete that quest line, we can turn these into the epic level. This is the only epic item besides the crossbow that will get as a hunter for this phase. This is a huge item as it does 6 agility, 1 hit, and has a 10% haste buff on a 10-minute CD. For Horde, I've seen a lot of Horde trying to pick up Horde of Aquinas. This is not your bis. The Defkin belt is still technically your bis for the phase. We'll keep that from our pre-raid setup. When it comes to legs, nothing has changed here. We'll either keep the Trolls Bane leggings if we were able to get them. If not, we'll pick up the leggings of the Fane. For boots, we're going to want to pick up Twilight Slayer's Footpad. The important thing to note on this item is it helps complete our 3-piece set. Although it might be a downgrade as an individual item, we still want this item for the overall set bonus. When it comes to rings, there's a quest line obtained in BFD by killing, it's right around the 3rd boss, and it's just a quest that we pick up and we complete where we get Band of the Iron Fist. This is the best since it has 7 agility and 4 strength. When it comes to your second best ring, there's 3 choices here. We can pick up Monkey Ring, Ring of the Precision, or the same ring I touched on based on in pre-raid Savannah, Ring of Agility that rolled 6 agility. When it comes to trinkets, we're gonna want to pick up Avenger's Void Pearl. This does 18 attack power, 10 shadow resist. This is gonna be the main item we wanna focus on in our trinket slot. This is a quest item that you get off the final boss in BFD. There's 1 guaranteed drop every single raid, so this should be relatively easier and easier to get over time. When it comes to the second slot, assuming that this black Murloc egg that only drops 1%, it's kind of a meme. Assuming this doesn't do any type of damage at all with that companion, then Minor Recombobulator is going to be your best in slot here. This is going to basically be a small health and mana consume that will allow you to click your buttons a little bit longer. Now, when it comes to in raid, there's 2 items I'm going to note. I touched base already in the pre-raid about the Wind Fury. So we will still want to use 2 one-handers if we're an individual that does no melee at all, because we're going to use 2 of the sharpening stones that do 2% hit. If we're not that type of player and we plan on doing any type of melee during the raid, we'll want to pick up Guardian's Trident. Guardian's Trident does 12 agi, 11 stam. This is going to be absolutely huge in PvE and for PvP. However, side note, when it comes to PvP, Fathom Blade, this hits like an absolute truck, and it has a chance to do a blast knockback. This is a great PvP item as well. It's halfway decent in PvE. I will, as a side note, mention that 2-handers are the best in slot items for some classes like warriors. So you'll want to pass this to them first, but if you can pick it up for, we'll want to look out for 2 items. Now, I've seen a lot of hunters rolling on Naga Heartrender. Stop doing that. This is not your item. This is about equivalent to a steel arrow crossbow that you can pick up as a BOE, because remember, we're using aim shot in our rotation. We'll want to pass this to the melee. This is their best in slot. If you ever played Classic before, this is basically your striker's mark. Let them have it. The Baal Modan Blunderbuss, this is a high and decent drop rate. We'll want to wait around. Since there's usually only 1 or 2 hunters in the raid, we'll pretty much get this guaranteed through the face. But this does 6 agi, which makes it way better than the Naga Heartrender. I know it's a faster weapon, guys, but trust me, this will net you more damage even in an aim shot rotation. Now, last item, the Ashari Air Ballast. I probably don't have to say this, but you'll want to do anything you can to get this item. It's absolutely nutty. Even though it's a 2.8 attack speed and we'll probably clip our aim shot a little bit, this is still going to be best in slot by far. You'll want to pick this up. The next topic here we're going to touch base on is talents. Then we'll go right into pets that go along with those talents. Now, I want to give a shout out to the community. All of you guys watched the video, put it on Spotlight. We had over 50,000 views, and we called the shot before anybody else what the talents, pet, and rotation would be, and it was nailed on the head. So appreciate all that. We got a W there. Now, here's what you need to know when it comes to talents. The first thing you're going to do in any spec is go improved aspect of the Hawk. This is the best talent you can get, point for point, pound for pound, regardless. This is basically a 20 to 30% uptime on a 30% haste buff. It is nutty. Now, when we're leveling, you guys, the next thing we'll want to do is pick up 2 out of 2 into Improved Provide Pet, 3 out of 5 into Endurance Training, 5 out of 5 into Unleash Fury, and 1 out of 5 into Ferocity. The reason for this while leveling, you may notice if you're a Classic player and coming back to SOD, because of the runes, you do a little bit more threat than what you're used to. This build is not only going to allow your pet to do a little bit more threat, but it's also going to allow your pet to have a little bit more survivability. And if you get in tough spots, you can res it quickly. So this is a great build, the fastest build with leveling. Now, with that being said, guys, when we level, just to be realistic, there's not really a bad answer. Marksman feels kind of bad because, again, you're just going to be ripping threat off your pet. But There's really no wrong answer. Level how you want. Nothing's a big deal. The reason I like this build here, you guys, is because as soon as you hit 25 and your gear's not that great, this build is going to be what's best to go and farm solo content like RFK, Wailing Caverns to get some of your pre-raid gear. And not only that, but when you step into raid and your gear's not that good, this is your best build as well. So you're going to save yourself a simple respect. Now, when it comes to your chest rune, if we have another hunter or paladin providing king's buff, then we won't run Heart of the Lion. We'll run Master Marksman. It's the best rune to have. If we do not have that in raid, Heart of the Lion's not that bad anymore. Pick this up, give your raid the buff, don't cuck the raid at all. Now, when it comes to the hand slot, when we first hit level 25 or while we're leveling, Beast Mastery rune is absolutely amazing. This adds a static amount of damage at level 25. Is a great rune to have. As we get better gear, we can pick up Chimera Shot or Explosive Shot. In this build, however, I love the Beast Mastery because we have Unleash Fury as a multiplier for our pet. This adds an additional 30% multiplier. When it comes to your leg slot, what we're going to pick up in this build is going to be Sniper Training if we're a turret player, or Flanking Strike if we're a melee weave player. There isn't a bad answer here when it comes between these two. The only bad answer is going either Kill Command, which is only going to net about 1 or 2 DPS, or Serpent Spread, which is garbage as well. So we'll pick either Flanking Strike for the melee players, we'll pick Sniper Training for the turret players. That's the Beast Mastery build. Now, for your Beast Mastery rotation here, this is going to be fairly simple. We're going to just utilize what we have. It's not even the main focus of the build. However, what we'll do to maximize our damage in the build is we'll auto attack, multi-shot, auto, then we're going to arcane shot. If Serpent Sting's not up, we'll apply Serpent Sting here, auto. If we're a melee weaver, we can go in and Raptor Strike. If we're not a melee weaver, we do nothing for this slot, auto attack, then we'll arcane shot again. Same thing. Every other rotation is when Serpent Sting will drop. In every other rotation, we can utilize it in a different spot. So just remember, when you're using your arcane shot, if Serpent Sting's not up, you'll reapply it. The Marksman Build 5 into improved aspect of the Hawk. We'll put 5 out of 5 into efficiency, 5 out of 5 into lethal shots. Then we'll pick up aim shot. Aim shot is going to be nutty with that steel arrow crossbow or any weapons that you pick up in BFD. Now for the chest rune, same rules apply. Master Marksman is your best in slot. However, Heart of the Lion is going to be what you pick up if there's no other hunter or paladin in the raid. Side note, this build is very mana intensive. We'll want to get Master Marksman if we can. When it comes to your hand rune, we have a couple options that are all pretty much viable. Sorry, Carve, you're not viable, but Beast Mastery is going to do about a static 11 damage, and Beast Mastery in this build, you guys, cost no mana. So that's the key here. On a really long boss fight, this is a great pickup. Chimera Shot is going to be your best in slot or best rune technically, because this is going to do anywhere from about 20 to about 35 DPS on its own. Explosive Shot, side note, is also viable. You'll want to pick up a second pair of gloves. I'd recommend the toughened leather gloves from the leather workers and equip this room on there. You'll actually, for trash, you can switch this on to do more DPS. On any pulls that are 3 or more mobs, this will do more damage. If it's 2 or more mobs, it's basically equivalent to Chimera, but it has less mana pool. So this costs 7% instead of the 12% that Chimera costs. Lastly, for the legs room, we have 2 viable options here as well. We have Sniper Training for the turret players or encounters where you can't really melee weave. And then we have Flanking Strike for the melee players. Both of these are great. Technically speaking, Sniper Training will edge out Flanking Strike with 100% uptime. I'm going to be careful though wording that, because it's not very often you can have 100% uptime. If you're 80-90% uptime or less, in most fights you will be, flanking strike technically will do more damage in those scenarios. On the build, if you picked up sniper training at the end, here's how your rotation will go. We're going to start with an auto attack, aim shot, auto attack, apply serpent sting, followed by immediate chimera so we don't clip our next auto, multi-shot, auto, chimera shot, and repeat. Now, as a side note, if you're getting into position and you need to be moving during your first rotation, that means you can't use aim shot. So we'll actually start at the second part of the rotation and just go auto, serpent sting, followed by the immediate chimera, auto, multi-shot, auto, chimera, auto, aim shot, then we'll repeat. Now, the main focus of this entire build is to stay stationary as you possibly can be in order to maximize the sniper training uptime. The second thing you need to focus on is you don't want to clip your autos. I'd recommend picking up weapon swing time. On the flip side, if we picked up flanking strike instead of sniper training, here's how our rotation would look. This is called the max weave rotation. We're still going to make sure we get our auto so we don't clip at the beginning. We're going to use this first part of our rotation to get into position and get ready in melee range. So we're going to, as we're moving into position, we're going to apply serpent sting, followed by an immediate chimera shot. We're going to hit our next auto. Again, very important we don't clip this auto. We're going to follow that by an immediate aim shot, auto attack. Then we're going to do a crazy thing here. We're going to hit chimera shot as we push W and go in and hit raptor strike and flanking strike at the same time. It is 100% possible and very doable to go in and get all three of these abilities in at the same time. This is like an absolutely nutty amount of damage. Every time that we have chimera shot going up and moving forward, we're doing that. We're hitting chimera shot, pressing W, going in and hitting raptor strike. Now, as a trick here, we're going to have a macro set up for our raptor strike and flanking strike. So what'll happen is we'll go in, we'll hit the macro. This is in my Google Doc sheet in the description. We're going to go in, hit the raptor strike. It'll automatically flanking strike at the same time every time it's up. This is going to be your BIS rotation moving forward, unless if there's any changes. Next question I get asked often is, nature, what do we do for PvP? Well, to answer that, I don't think there is a perfect answer. I think it depends on your play style, what you're looking to do. The build that we just went over, I think is great for maybe killing people midfield in Warsong, or going out in like group PvP open world and you're just sitting in the back trying to pump as much damage as possible, like in the Ashenvale PvP event. Now, when I'm a fresh level 25, I'm going to go with the Beast Mastery build that I already covered, because that's going to be something great. My pet's going to be able to do a lot of work for me in that build. Now, when it comes to defending the flag, capturing the flag, or really trying to get sweaty in like a duel or 1v1 situation, the build that I like is going to be to first, we can keep improved aspect of the Hawk. I probably won it here, but we'll get 3 out of 3 into humanoid slaying, 2 out of 5 into deflection, 2 out of 2 into savage strengths, 3 out of 5 into improved wing clip, and then 1 out of 1 into deterrence. Deterrence is absolutely nutty in a PvP situation, in a duel, capturing or defending the flag. We can keep improved aspect of the Hawk here if we want to. Me personally, I'm going to put another 2 into improved wing clip to keep that up. Put 2 points into clever traps, which is going to increase my trap, freezing trap duration. And then I'm going to put 1 point into sure-footed, which this is just going to give me a hit for a little bit more damage, but also give me a chance to resist movement impairing effects. 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but basically 1 out of 20 times you get to have a W. So I think this is a great point to have as well. Now, when it comes to your chest runes, here I'm going to pick up Aspect of the Lion to make sure I always have that equipped, because there's probably not somebody else in your range to give it to you. When it comes to the hand slot, I don't think you can go wrong here as well. I think Explosive Shot, if you're in like group type of PvP, can be good. Beast Mastery can be great. Chimera Shot, all these can be good. So let's just say we pick up Chimera Shot. When it comes to the leg rune, I'm just picking up Flanking Strike, because when somebody comes into my dead zone, I want to do as much damage and punish them. I've had almost 500 damage from a Raptor Flanking Strike combo, somebody coming into my dead zone, and they instantly regretted it. So this is a great point to have as well. The next thing we'll want to do when we hit level 25 and after picking up our talents is get a good pet. Now, the best in slot pet to have is a 2.0 attack speed cat or raptor. The reason for the 2.0 attack speed is because flanking strength scales with your pet damage, and a slower pet would do more damage. Now, we'll also want to pick up Claw rank 4. That's found from taming an Elder Ashenvale Bear in Ashenvale, or a Barbed Crustacean, one of the yellow crabs at the beginning of BFD the dungeon. We'll also want to pick up Bite rank 4. This can be learned from taming a Leech Widow Spider in the wetlands, or a giant moss creeper in Hillsbrad Foothills. Now, the next thing we'll want to worry about when it comes to pets is what look are we going to get? There's a ton of looks here. I'll put them all up. Nothing is wrong. Just make sure you get a 2.0 attack speed on the pet. When it comes to the looks category here, might I suggest getting the Ghost Saber. This is one of the coolest looking pets in the entire game, and it hasn't been viable in Classic for a really long time. So pick up a Ghost Saber. It's in the north of Darkshore in the Naga camps. You go around, there's little cat figurines. You click those and they have about a 10 or 20% chance to spawn the Ghost Saber. On the flip side of things with the Raptor, I'd suggest the Deviate Stalker, which is found in the Wailing Caverns dungeon. I just like black, but pick what you want here. Any Raptor has 2.0 attack speed, and I'll put the link to Wowtopia for the other cats that have 2.0 attack speed. When it comes to PvP and pets, the thing you want here is one of 3 things. We'll actually bring back from the grave the Wind Serpent. The Wind Serpent is a burst damage pet, and it's absolutely nutty. So you can still use some of the multipliers here with the Wind Serpent. If you're a fresh 25 and you pick up Unleash Fury and have the Beast Mastery rune, this is going to hit really hard. You're going to do 400 to 500 damage on the opener of a PvP encounter. Now, my personal preference for PvP is a 1.2 attack speed cat. We'll want to go to Hillsbrad Foothills, pick up the Starving Mountain Lion. We have Raluk. He's that new pet that gives you flanking strike. We can pick that up for 1.2 attack speed. Or we have the Rake, which is a rare found outside of Mulgore. Alright, now we've got our runes, gear, talents, pet, and rotation all situated. We need to get ready for raid. So let's go over the consumes. Now, the first thing I'll mention is everything we're going to go over is going to be linked in the guide that's in the description. For food, we want to pick up smoked sagefish. This has 3 MP5. It's a 15-minute buff. With potions, all of these can be stacked on top of each other. We don't have to pick one. We can bring lesser agility for 8 agi, ogre strength for 8 strength, strong troll's blood for 6 HP 5, elixir of defense for 150 armor, elixir of fortitude for 120 HP. For on-use potions, these all share a 2-minute CD. We have mana potion. This is going to be the main thing we use in raid, especially for the max weave build, as it consumes a lot of mana. This is going to be on average about 520 mana on use. Swiftness potion for speed, free action potion for a get out of jail card on stun and movement in pairing abilities. Now, side note with free action potion, if you've never used it, you can't get stunned or get movement impaired, then use it. You have to use this first, and you have a 30-second immunity window. Lesser invisibility potion, you can use this for PvP. Shadow of protection, a lot of high-end guilds use this on Kelris, the warlock boss in BFD. Fire protection potions, minor magic resistance potions, you can use these in PvE and PvP. And then when it comes to the Black Fathom sharpening stone, we touched base on it. This is the best in slot stone to use. However, you wouldn't use this if you're in a Wind Fury group and you plan to melee weave. You would only use this if you're going like a turret build and not planning to melee weave at all, because this will basically block the Wind Fury from being on you. For Bisque consumes, these are things going a little bit above and beyond. We can pick up Scroll of Agility 2 and Scroll of Strength 2 on the Alliance side and the Horde side. This does one more to each of the stats for 9 Agi, 9 Strength. And then on the Horde side, we have Agamagan's Agility and Agamagan's Strength. This does 10 and 10. Now, I'll link the guide in the Google document. However, we go to Camp Tarajo, we complete Tribes of War. This opens up and we collect blood shards. You can actually purchase those for really cheap on the auction house. It's 4 blood shards each to unlock both of these. We have Dog Whistle and Spiked Collar. These are really hard to get. We get Dog Whistle out of Scarlet Monastery, and then we get Spiked Collar off of a rare mob in Duskwood. In engineering, we want to make sure we come prepared with heavy dynamite, minor recombobulators for a little bit extra mana and health. And then on a side note, make sure that right now you level up your fishing or purchase any winter squid you need on the auction house. This is huge because as a hunter, what's going to happen is this is a consumable that we're going to use later in the game. You cannot use winter squid until you're level 45. However, this is something you can only farm in the winter. So coming in March, you won't be able to get this anymore after that. And we'll want to have a stockpile up and ready for the higher level caps. So make sure you stock up on winter squid. All right, that is all I have for you today. This has been a fun one. Now, as always, make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want me to keep pushing it out. Other than that, that's all I gotta say. Peace.